Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, February 6, 2020. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and live via streaming worldwide through UNTV News and Rescue Facebook account and UNTVweb.com. I'm Herlene Delgado, sitting in for William Theo.
And here are the headlines.
Thousands of passengers and crews, including Filipinos, held on 2 cruise ships off Japan and Hong Kong amid growing concerns of the 2019 novel coronavirus. 6 passengers who took the same flights as the Chinese couple infected with the novel coronavirus have been reported to show flu-like symptoms. A Filipino domestic worker dies of an unknown strain of coronavirus in Dubai. New Clark City Interlock to be used as a quarantine area for Filipinos repatriated from virus-hit China. Davao Occidental to cull 13,000 pigs to curb the spread of the African swine fever. And the Department of Labor and Employment partially lifts the ban on deployment of overseas Filipino workers in Kuwait.
More than 5,000 people are being held on 2 cruise ships off Hong Kong and Japan amid concerns passengers and crew were inadvertently exposed to the Wuhan coronavirus by infected passengers.
Yes, and people aboard both ships, including Filipinos, are being given health screenings, and those with suspicious symptoms are being tested for the virus that has quickly spread throughout mainland China and beyond. Let's take a look at Kath Tumaraos in this report.
10 more people on a quarantine cruise liner in the port of Yokohama, south of Tokyo, have tested positive for coronavirus, bringing the total of positive cases to 20. The cruise operator, Princess Cruises, said the infected passengers include 3 Americans, 2 Australians, 7 Japanese, 1 from Taiwan, 2 Canadians, 1 New Zealander, and 3 Hong Kong citizens. 1 Filipino crew member is also ill. The rest of the passengers on board will remain under quarantine for at least 14 days, as required by the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare will make confirming the health situation of the ship's passengers and crew the highest priority. We will put the best measures in place to prevent the spread of the infection.
The cases were detected after medical officials went room to room to check each guest's temperature and condition, Japan's health ministry said in a statement. Those who showed symptoms were subject to further testing. More passengers than expected needed to be temporarily quarantined while being tested, the statement said. More than 100 test results are still pending, it added. The company also said the first phase of screening of all the passengers on board has been completed. Meanwhile, almost 2,000 tourists are being held on a cruise ship in Hong Kong and being tested for the new coronavirus after several crew members reported symptoms associated with the illness. Passengers aboard the World Dream ship operated by Genting's Dream Cruises are being barred from disembarking at Hong Kong's Kai Tak Cruise Terminal until test results from 3 suspected cases are returned. The ship arrived in Hong Kong from Taiwan on Wednesday with 1,871 passengers aboard. The vast majority were from Hong Kong, but several passengers traveled to join the cruise from other countries, including Australia, the UK, and Canada. Around 30 crew members reported various minor symptoms such as coughs and sore throats during health screenings upon arrival in Hong Kong, according to Dream Cruises. While 1 crew member was diagnosed with flu, temperature screenings did not confirm fever in the remaining 29 crew members. However, 3 crew members who said they had felt feverish have been sent to public hospitals for further testing for the coronavirus. Samples from crew members who reported other symptoms have also been taken to medical facilities for precautionary testing. In a statement on Wednesday, a spokesperson for Dream Cruises said they will not allow passengers or crew to disembark from the cruise ship until the test results of the affected crew are confirmed. It added that they are fully cooperating with local health officials to ensure the safety of its passengers and crew. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
A UNTV source from the World Dream ship said this afternoon they were briefed by the captain of the cruise ship and confirmed that all its crew members are all cleared from the 2019 novel coronavirus. The Philippine National Police has found out that 6 fellow passengers of the Chinese couple who came from Wuhan, China and tested positive for the 2019 novel coronavirus are now either on quarantine or have developed respiratory infections. Leah Ilagan tells us why.
Of the 61 passengers of Cebu Pacific Flight 5J241 from Cebu to Dumaguete last January 21, who came into contact with a Chinese couple who had tested positive for the 2019 nCoV, 23 have been traced and contacted by the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group National Capital Region Field Unit. CIDG Deputy Director for Administration Police Colonel Roderick Armamento reveals that of the 23 passengers, 3 are manifesting symptoms of respiratory infection.
However, 38 passengers hindi namin makausap, 6 yung local numbers and 32 international numbers.
The CIDG has also contacted 25 of the 132 passengers of the January 25 Philippine Airlines Flight 2452 Dumaguete to Manila. Of the 25, 3 are now undergoing quarantine in different hospitals in the country.
Ang hindi namin pa makausap ay yung 16 at 20 nagri-ring lang. So dun sa 16 na hindi namin makausap, tiningnan namin, binalidate namin yung mga numbers and it seems na yung iba doon is apparently non-existence.
Armamento requests the concerned airlines to ensure the passengers' information are correct and for a speedy contact tracing. Armamento adds all passengers who have been contacted were advised to undergo home quarantine and observe themselves for fever, cough, and colds.
So hanggang doon lang kami actually, hanggang contact tracing lang. Kung may mga sinasabi sila na mayroong, sir, inuubo po ako, sinisipon, immediately tinatawagan namin kagad yung DOH.
Armamento adds they also encourage the passengers to wear masks, observe proper hygiene, and immediately contact the DOH if they experience any signs and symptoms of respiratory infection. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
More than 400 tourists are being monitored by the Malay government as of today. But the Malay LGU clarifies there is no case of coronavirus on the island up to this date. Lalaine Moreno reports why.
Flights from Kalibo, Aklan to Wuhan, Hubei, China and vice versa are now suspended. But there are 429 foreign tourists who remain on Boracay Island. Most of them are Chinese citizens who are staying in different hotels on the island. They have been classified by the Malay government as persons under monitoring for possible 2019 novel coronavirus infection.
The local government of Malay is monitoring them in their hotels just to make sure that they do not show signs of symptoms of cough, other symptoms of the virus.
Persons under monitoring are those who have travel history from China in the past 14 days or history of contact with an individual confirmed to be infected with nCoV even if they show no symptoms.
Even if they are under monitoring, we still treat them as tourists. Di natin sila dapat stigmatize, no? Because they are our guests here in the country.
Most of tourists who visit the island are Chinese nationals. Before the outbreak of nCoV, there were 6 direct flights from Kalibo International Airport to Wuhan City, China every week. 41.84% or more than 400,000 tourists that arrived on Boracay last year are Chinese. Meanwhile, the Kalibo provincial government are preparing the Aklan Training Center to be used as holding area of the passengers who will undergo the 14-day incubation and quarantine period. Lelaine Moreno, UNTV News and Rescue, Kalibo, Aklan.
A Chinese newborn has been diagnosed with the new coronavirus just 30 hours after birth. The youngest case recorded so far, state media said. The baby was born on February 2 in Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus. The baby's mother tested positive before she gave birth. It is unclear how the disease was transmitted, in the womb or after birth. Only a handful of children have come down with the virus, which has killed 563 people and infected 28,018. The baby, who weighed 3.25 kilograms at birth, was now in a stable condition and under observation. At least a dozen drug makers are racing to develop vaccines or antivirals and other treatments to help those infected with the fast-spreading coronavirus contagion. Health officials in the United States and China have set ambitious goals for getting a vaccine to initial human testing within the next few months. Stephanie C. reports.
A Maryland-based company has taken vaccines from discovery to clinical testing in 90 days and believes it could do something similar for the new coronavirus. Novavax research chief Gregory Glenn said their technology aims to create vaccine proteins which elicit an immune response broader than just that narrow strain of the virus they target, so that in theory a vaccine would work even as the virus mutates over time. The idea would be to have one vaccine for the virus instead of creating new vaccines every year that target, for example, each new strain of the flu virus.
The coronavirus could evolve during an epidemic. It'd be very important to have one vaccine that actually has broad responses to it that would cover that, so the mutations would not change the efficacies.
But Glenn also conceded he is not sure how important the broad immunity will be for the coronavirus, which, like the flu, has mutated quite a bit. Newer vaccine platforms, such as one developed by Novavax and Moderna, will allow scientists to create a potential vaccine in record time just based on knowing the genetic code of the novel coronavirus. With the genetic code in hand, scientists can start vaccine development without needing a sample of the virus. But to move vaccine candidates from the lab to widespread use in patients involves a number of hurdles, according to health experts and executives for drug makers working on coronavirus vaccines and treatments. In addition to scaling up manufacturing capacity and building distribution networks, there are regulatory hurdles, such as conducting large clinical trials to make sure a vaccine not only confers immunity to the virus, but is safe for use in the general population. Anthony Fauci, director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is using Moderna's platform, said the agency is on the fastest pace ever to develop a vaccine candidate. He hopes to have a vaccine available for initial safety testing within 2.5 to 3 months from the time scientists determine the genetic sequence of the virus.
Novavax has in the past gone from getting the gene sequence, identifying the virus, to starting testing in 90 days for Ebola and for a pandemic potential flu vaccine. So we've done it, and so everyone's very focused on trying to compress these time frames.
Still, whether even a highly effective vaccine will prove profitable for companies is another big question. Next week, hundreds of experts will meet in Geneva, Switzerland to set research and development priorities for coronavirus drugs, diagnostics, and vaccines to combat the outbreak. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
Welcome back to Y News. The Department of Health and the Department of Foreign Affairs presented today new information and protocol on the repatriation of volunteer returnees from Hubei province. DFA Undersecretary Brigido Dulay said 45 OFWs have manifested their willingness to be repatriated. A chartered flight for the OFWs will depart from Hubei province on Saturday. They will arrive in Clark International Airport on Sunday morning. Aiko Miguel reports why.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III clarified the athletes' village in New Clark City, Tarlac, had been offered to serve as a quarantine area for the repatriates.
It was offered by the BCDA, and that's why I said in my press statement that we convey our appreciation to the BCDA for coming forward to offer their facility. It's much more strategically located. One. Number two, the facilities are more complete. The ambience is very nice. It's well lit. It's open space, and so the rooms are with almost complete amenities, with refrigerators, television, individualized toilets, which is very, very good. Unlike in Fort Magsaysay, where the toilets o yung palikuran ay dapat they will have to share the toilets, no?
The DFA explained the Philippine and Chinese governments have agreed on health protocols before letting the Filipino workers take the chartered flight. OFWs who will manifest coronavirus symptoms will not be allowed to board the plane. Instead, they will be brought to a Chinese hospital.
Insofar as those whose immigration status are updated and they have no problem, they will be brought to the plane side. Of the 45 that we are supposed to bring back to the Philippines, they will again, as they are required by the Chinese Health Commission, they are required to undergo another check before they board the plane. And if they are found to be with a fever or any symptom of the nCoV, they will be taken by the Chinese authorities to their hospital, to their facility for treatment, and they will not be boarded.
The DFA also emphasized the repatriation is not solely a Philippine-dictated procedure and therefore entails coordination with Chinese authorities. The DFA is working closely with Chinese authorities to secure the OFW's exit permits.
We can receive applications now, but so far we have not gotten any more than the 45.
Okay.
So we're waiting. Any Filipino who wants to come home in Wuhan, I just need to make sure that it's in Hubei and Wuhan because that's the area that's really in lockdown, can come home.
The DOH will send 3 nurses and 2 doctors to assist volunteer returnees.
Hindi bababa ang crew, sasakay yung mga pasahero, tas babalik agad dito sa atin. Of course, in isolation and everybody will be wearing protective gear, nakabasa.
The DOH explains all the volunteer returnees will be isolated in the quarantine facility. Those who will manifest symptoms will be brought to a polyclinic inside the quarantine facility. The health workers, loved ones, and family members are not allowed to visit the quarantine facility but can communicate with them online. According to the DOH, there are now 178 patients under investigation or PUI in the Philippines. 147 are isolated and admitted, 16 have been discharged, and 48 tested negative for the 2019 nCoV ARD. 127 results are pending in Research Institute for Tropical Medicine in Muntinlupa City. Aiko Miguela, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Philippines Labor Secretary reports that a Filipino worker in Dubai died due to an unknown coronavirus strain. Meanwhile, the Department of Labor and Employment said that the Filipino seafarer who tested positive for the 2019 nCoV acute respiratory disease and now in stable condition. From Manila, here's Vincent Arboleda to tell us why live. Yes, Vincent.
Yes, Darlene, the Department of Labor and Employment reports that a Filipino household worker in Dubai has died of a strain of coronavirus. But according to Secretary Sylvester Bello III of the Department of Labor and Employment, he clarifies that the death was not due to the 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease.
That was
Labor
February 1 report, hindi,
showed the Filipino Labor Secretary Bello explained medical records show the Filipino worker died not because of coronavirus at first, but the findings later on changed to coronavirus.
Was February 1 report, hindi coronavirus, pero February 2 coronavirus na. And I met the daughter kanina and they're going there to see kasi pagka coronavirus kan agad i-cremate agad.
Secretary Bello said the letter sent to his office stated that death was due to acute respiratory distress syndrome.
Di bang yung WHO, World Health Organization, sabi na ang coronavirus is acute respiratory disease. Eh nung nakita ko, akala ko parehas lang kasi nagalagay, acute respiratory distress syndrome. O di ka ako parehas lang pero iba pa lang ibig sabihin nun.
The Labor Secretary also reported that a Filipino seafarer who have tested positive for the 2019 nCoV is now in stable condition. However, he won't be allowed to return to the Philippines until he recovers from the disease. The manning agency in charge of the Filipino seafarer has informed the Labor Secretary's office that the Pinoy seafarer is being provided with necessities and given proper medical attention. The Pinoy seafarer tested positive for the 2019 novel coronavirus together with 9 other passengers of the Diamond Princess cruise ship. The 10 who tested positive were brought to a medical facility for treatment. Other passengers numbering to 2,666 remain quarantined inside the cruise ship together with 1,045 crews, of which 537 are Filipinos. Medical staff from the Japanese government continues to monitor the conditions of those aboard the cruise ship. Darlene, Secretary Bello of Department of Labor and Employment has earlier said that he was able to talk to the daughter of the deceased Pinay OFW. He said the daughter wants to see the remains of her mother, so the Department of Labor is now working for her papers and documents so she can be able to see her mother in Dubai. But as of the moment, assistance will also be provided to the family of the deceased Pinay OFW. That's the latest live. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Vincent Arboleta, reporting live from Manila. The City of Pines cancels the festival for the season of blooming, which is an attraction for tourists. And in Cebu, the celebration of the 100th anniversary of Consolacion Town has been moved to a later date. Mirasol Abogadil will tell us why.
The annual Panagbanga Festival, celebrated in February every year in Baguio City, will not be enjoyed this month. The cancellation of the event aims to prevent the entry and spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease in the city.
Hindi ko naman nakakalimutan yung situation natin ng business sector. Tinitingnan natin yan, but we have to strike a balance.
Mayor Benjamin Magalong meanwhile denied that the city is on lockdown due to the novel coronavirus. The Philippine Military Academy Alumni Homecoming, originally set for February 14 and 15, has been pushed back to February 22, says the Philippine Military Academy Alumni Association. Even the PMA graduation scheduled for March will be put off to a later date to be announced by the Academy. According to a public advisory from the PMA on January 31, the cadets' parents and relatives may visit only with the supervision of PMA health practitioners. And in Cebu, the Centennial Sarok Festival, to be held in Consolacion Town, has also been postponed. A grand parade and battle of the bands was supposed to be staged for the 100th anniversary celebration of the town.
Ang Sarok Festival is only temporarily suspended, so wala na magpasabot nga wala na gyud, no? So we will be postponing that in some other dates. Di pa nato ma-sure kung kanus-an na.
Mayor Joanes Alegado says the celebration will push through after the coronavirus threat is over. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV News and Rescue.
Local government units in Metro Manila take their own measures to thwart the spread of the deadly novel coronavirus. Meanwhile, the DOH will not recommend an import ban on Chinese products. Joan Nano will tell us why.
The docking of a Chinese cruise ship at Manila Harbor, which was also supposed to dock at the Subic Bay Freeport, has been a controversial topic recently. The local government of Olongapo strongly resisted the supposed docking of World Dream cruise ship due to fear of virus infection in their area. In a message, Interior Undersecretary Jonathan Malay says the Philippine Ports Authority or PPA and the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority have the authority over the docking of any sea vessel in the country, but the local government units have no jurisdiction on this. In a press conference yesterday, the PPA said it will not prohibit the docking of any sea vessel coming from China and its special administrative regions so as not to paralyze the country's supply chain. However, the PPA will impose strict policies and will not allow the disembarking of crews from the ship. Various local government units in Metro Manila will intensify their conduct of sanitation inspection in different establishments to fight the NCOV-ARD. According to Dr. Olga Virtusio, the Parañaque City Health Department head, sanitation inspection is a regular protocol among all LGUs in Metro Manila.
The inspection of the different POGO, or the different establishments in the respective cities, of the different cities all over Metro Manila, they have their own code or sanitation code. So this is a regular inspection. When it comes to sanitation, it's just that we have to enhance and strengthen that a bit in terms of the events that are happening right now. Ito nga yung NCOV.
Although local governments have the capacity to purchase face masks for their respective cities, shortage in the supply of face masks has been a problem lately. In Parañaque, the distribution of face masks has been limited.
So as of now, I have regulated it and put a stop to the distribution of the mask because my priority is really for all the health workers, both for the hospitals and for my health center teams.
Amid the present situation, the Department of Health will not recommend to prohibit the importation of products from China.
Ang mga products kasi wala naman, very low risk naman ang mga halimbawa cargo. Hindi naman yan makakapag-transmit ng virus kasi the virus will not stay alive naman for more than maximum nga 10 hours.
Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Philippine Genome Center offers free testing services for the 2019 novel coronavirus cases. The center just awaits a go signal from the Department of Health. Let's find out why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
The Philippine Genome Center, or PGC, at the University of the Philippines in Quezon City houses tools and cutting-edge equipment and trained DNA sequencing staff and scientists. With such equipment and workforce, the PGC can examine the 2019 novel coronavirus.
So this technique probably lasts about 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours. So technically speaking, in half a day, you can get the results. For the kits. For sequencing, the next generation sequencing na tinatawag natin viral metagenomics, 48 to 72 hours.
With 3 confirmed cases of 2019 nCoV infection, an increasing number of persons under investigation, or PUI, in the country, the PGC offers free service to the Department of Health to detect the virus. PGC explains it is essential to identify the infected individuals as soon as possible so authorities can immediately conduct contact tracing to avoid further spread of the virus. The Genome Center has coordinated with the DOH regarding the service it is offering but has yet to receive a go signal.
Actually, kami naka-standby na kami for more than 10 days. We have been on standby, waiting to be contacted.
The DOH explains that in the meantime, they rely on the services provided by the Research Institute of Tropical Medicine, or RITM.
Ang RITM, ang ina-accredit niya yung mga laboratory. So kung may laboratory na gagawa ng PCR test, which is the complete test that's being run, hindi yung test kit kasi para siya yung shortcut. So yung long cut na na test, yun yung ginagawa sa RITM, yung full test.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Many are hoping that novel coronavirus cases will decrease when the hot season comes. But a former health department official, the onset of the dry season in the Philippines does not guarantee this. Ray Pelaya explains why.
Weather plays a big role in spreading a disease. According to former Health Department Undersecretary Ted Herbosa, some viruses are actually more likely to spread during cold weather.
Kaya kumakalat ngayon yan, medyo malamig yung weather. Kagaya ng influenza o flu. Season yan during winter sa Northern Hemisphere.
China, where the 2019 novel coronavirus originated, is in the Northern Hemisphere, where a cold climate is prevailing now. Herbosa says the onset of the dry season will not guarantee that the spread of the disease will stop. He says it is because the temperature in the Philippines does not reach 60 degrees Celsius. At such temperature, viruses are inactivated. In other countries, the spread of the novel coronavirus will last until mid-year.
Tapos na yung winter nila, ang spring nila ay hanggang June. So, ang tansya ko dito, tatagal ito dito sa mga temperate countries all the way until June. Kasi habang malamig ang hangin.
The former health official further says the disease can easily spread inside an air-conditioned building as the virus can be inhaled. During the dry season, diseases like diarrhea is common because food has a short shelf life. Fever cases increase during the wet season, so doctors advise to be vaccinated in April or May for the preparation of your body.
Makikita niyo sa programa ng ating pamahalaan, meron silang mga sakit na ina-address kada buwan. And this is because yung mikrobyo o sakit na kumakalat dahil yung environment is affected by weather, cold climate.
Herbosa advises it is good to eat food rich in vitamin C, do physical exercises, drink a lot of water, and sleep well. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
More than 13,000 pigs will be culled in Davao Occidental. Hog raisers will be compensated for every culled swine. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
Over 13,000 pigs in Don Marcelino, Davao Occidental are now afflicted with African swine fever. According to Ricardo Oñate Jr., the Regional Executive Director of the Department of Agriculture Region 11, they will cull ASF heat swines, especially those within 1 kilometer radius from the affected areas.
Sa 177 protocols po natin, yung sinusunod natin, 1 kilometer is yung pinakamadaling po na proseso na hindi po masunod na what is important po sinusunod po natin yung pinakamabilis ang pinakakuan po na proseso po.
Hog raisers will be given 5,000 pesos for each culled pig. This is to ensure that no piggery owners will hide infected pigs. Meanwhile, 2 barangays in Calinan, Davao City are now under surveillance and on temporary lockdown. This after reports of swine deaths in the area.
Namiguro lang yun mi, no, walay makalusot. So, nagdugang mi o kaning murag checkpoint kay kung pwede lang wala na yung animal movement for the meantime. Majority sa atong mga barangays are free from ASF. Apan naami barangay gina surveillance karon kay naay mga reported cases ng deaths sa mga baboy. So under surveillance na sila.
Quarantine checkpoints are now strictly monitored in entry and exit points in Davao City to prevent further spread of ASF virus in the city. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue, Davao City.
Good news! The Manila Electric Company or Meralco has announced a 59 centavo per kilowatt hour reduction in their power rates starting February. This translates to a 118 peso decrease for a household consuming around 200 kilowatts per month. A household consuming 300 kilowatts per month will have a power rate cut of 177 pesos. Meanwhile, households with a power consumption of 400 kilowatts and 500 kilowatts will have a 236 peso and 295 pesos power rates cut respectively. The downward adjustment is due to lower power generation charges. This is the second consecutive month that Meralco announced a power rate reduction. To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. The Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE, has decided to partially lift the deployment ban to Kuwait. The decision came after the Philippines and Kuwait has finally signed an agreement containing provisions from the 2018 labor deal crafted to protect the welfare of Filipino workers in Kuwait. According to DOLE Secretary Silvestre Bello III, Under the partial ban, semi-skilled and professional workers would be deployed to Kuwait. Newly hired household service workers are still prohibited from being deployed under the partial ban.
Finally, the proposed harmonized contract of employment was agreed upon by the Kuwaiti government. This is a measure that would provide effective and sufficient protection to our overseas workers.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. admits the country could lose a handful of benefits from the impending termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement. Arlene Delgado explains why.
The Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs has begun its review of agreements between the Philippines and the United States, which include the Visiting Forces Agreement. This, as Senator Franklin Relon seeks for the Senate to have concurrence in terminating or withdrawing from treaties and international agreements entered into by the government after President Rodrigo Duterte decided to terminate the VFA. According to the senator, the concurrence of the Senate is part of the check and balance in the government. Under the Constitution, all treaties and international agreements shall be concurred by at least 2/3 of the members of the Senate.
It is our submission that a treaty may not be undone without the shared power that put it into effect. Our failure to do so will weaken the Senate.
Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. agrees that the VFA should be rigorously reviewed. The Secretary admits the impending VFA termination may have negative effects on the country. Locsin says the termination would affect the decades-old Mutual Defense Treaty and the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, as the VFA acts as its legal framework and implementing agreement.
Yes, it's true when they say that when you abrogate the VFA, the MDT can remain and so will EDCA, but both will be nothing but pieces of paper.
It will also affect the modernization program of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and its capabilities in countering terrorism and other security threats, including cyber attacks and human trafficking. According to Locsin, the United States spent over $554 million on security assistance for the Philippine military. The U.S. also plans to spend $200 million for 2020 and 2021. The Foreign Affairs Secretary adds it may curtail the defense engagement, as the VFA paved way for the conduct of numerous training and military exercises between the two countries. Locsin also noted the termination may compromise the relations between the Philippines and the U.S.
Abrogating the VFA without any attempt to review it to strengthen the sovereignty provisions in favor of the Philippines, yes, that the United States may lose interest.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says the U.S. has been instrumental in aiding the country through its humanitarian assistance during calamities. On the other hand, Locsin reveals he has yet to serve the notice of termination, but it is now ready should President Duterte orders its submission. The Senate committee also held an executive session as requested by Locsin to discuss in detail the effects of the VFA's termination on national security and national interest. Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. The Republican-controlled Senate acquitted President Donald Trump on 2 impeachment charges amid Republican complaints about what they called a rushed process and Democratic claims that Trump is a threat to democracy. Whether rushed or not, the impeachment was the fastest impeachment ever. Beverly Saison details why.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been cleared in his impeachment trial, ending a congressional bid to oust him from office that bitterly divided the U.S. The Senate, run by the president's fellow Republicans, voted to acquit him 52-48 on charges of abuse of power and 53-47 on obstruction of Congress. Democrats charged Trump in December with pressuring Ukraine to smear a potential White House rival. Mitt Romney of Utah was the only Republican senator to cross the aisle and convict Trump on the first charge of abuse of power. Senate Republican leader Mitchell McConnell said the entire case against Trump had been a circus.
They thought this was a great idea, and at least for the short term, it has been a colossal political mistake.
The House voted to impeach Trump a week before December 25th, less than 3 months after Pelosi launched the impeachment inquiry. After a 4-week delay, while Democrats pressed for rules changes to extend the trial, House Democrats carried the former articles of impeachment against Trump to the Senate in mid-January. 3 weeks later, the Senate voted to acquit Trump without new testimony or subpoenas. Democrats expressed concern that acquittal would further embolden a president whom they depict as a demagogue.
Truth. There's a giant asterisk next to the president's acquittal. The asterisk says he was acquitted without facts, he was acquitted without a fair trial, and it means that his acquittal is virtually valueless.
Trump, who is seeking a second 4-year term in the November 3rd election, always denied wrongdoing. The president said he'd make a statement from the White House on Thursday. The end of the Senate impeachment trial won't bring an end to revelations about Trump's dealings with Ukraine. Jerry Nadler, the Democratic chairman of the House of Judiciary Committee, said on Wednesday the chamber would likely issue a subpoena to Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Senate Republicans ultimately declined to seek Bolton's testimony during the president's impeachment trial, provoking uproar from Democrats. A manuscript of a forthcoming Bolton memoir reportedly alleges Trump told his former national security advisor to help him pressure Ukraine. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
2 people have been killed after a high-speed train derailed near the northern Italian city of Lodi, emergency services say. Both of the dead are thought to be drivers. At least one person, a cleaner on the train, had significant but not life-threatening injuries. The train was traveling from Milan to the southern city of Salerno. All services on the Milan-Bologna high-speed route have been suspended and diverted via conventional lines. The causes of the accident are being investigated. 2 avalanches in eastern Turkey, the second burying rescuers responding to the worst, killed at least 38 people, with more still unaccounted for. And a passenger plane skidded off the runway at Istanbul's airport and broke into 3 pieces. 1 person was reported killed, and a government official said scores were hospitalized. Jovic Burmas has this story.
2 avalanches in eastern Turkey have killed 38 people, most of them buried by the second slide while working to rescue victims of the first. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said 33 people died when the second avalanche hit while they were searching for 2 more victims of the first snowslip, which killed 5 people after rescuing 8 others. Television footage from the Bakhchisaray district in the eastern province of Van showed dozens of people using shovels and sticks in snowfall and high winds to dig out vehicles that had been buried and toppled in the avalanche, which occurred on Tuesday evening. Van Governor Mehmet Emin Belmez said earlier that rescue efforts were continuing but did not say how many people were still believed to be trapped. Interior Minister Suleyman Soylu said conditions in the area made it difficult for rescue vehicles to operate, adding that a vehicle had been pulled out from under 16 feet of snow. Meanwhile, a passenger plane landing at an airport in Istanbul has skidded off the runway and broken into 3 parts, killing at least 3 persons and injuring more than 150. The Pegasus Airlines jet was carrying 171 passengers and 6 crew members from Izmir province in the west when it crashed at Sabiha Gökçen Airport. The Boeing 737 was trying to land in heavy tailwinds and rain. The airport was closed and flights diverted after the accident. Turkish media said the majority of people on board were Turkish, but there were also about 20 foreign nationals. Video footage showed the plane taxiing in flames at a high speed before skidding off the runway. Istanbul's public prosecutor has launched an inquiry to the incident. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
Court Administrator Jose Midas Marquez reveals that his team is much eager to win the championship this season, even if they have to face defending champion AFP Cavaliers in a best-of-3 series semifinals. Bernadottis will tell us why.
Two-time champion Judiciary Magis is just a step away to once again obtain the championship trophy in the League of Public Servants. As the semifinals begin this Sunday, Magis will face defending champion AFP Cavaliers in a best-of-3 series. According to Court Administrator Jose Midas Marquez, his teammates are all excited since it was in Season 3 when they last won a championship against then Malacanang Patriots. This season has been a tough campaign for them after narrowly escaping 2 knockout games in the eliminations and the quarterfinals.
We just keep helping each other, no? Pushing each other. Siguro palagay ko dahil dun sa magandang samahan na rin, nagja-gel, and yung will to win, no?
Judiciary on the 4th spot with 7 wins and 5 losses will battle number 1 team AFP Cavaliers, which has an 8-1 win-loss record.
Yan sinasabi ko dun sa mga players, no? Defending champion yan, best record yan, palaging number 1 all the way, pero yung isang talo nila sa atin yon. No? So that's enough motivation for us, no? To not to give up and to give it our best.
Marquez also added they are inspired to win in the finals for the sake of their beneficiaries, the court employees in the country affected by calamities like the Taal volcano eruption. He explains this makes them thankful to be a part of UNTV Cup and its advocacy since the first season.
Hindi lang natutulungan yung mga public servants mismo, no, na magpursige. Marami tayong natutulungan ng mga nangangailangan, no, sa panig nga namin, ating mga court employees, court personnel na talagang nasasalanta ng mga bagyo, itong pagsabog ng Taal, yung Marawi Siege, Zamboanga Siege, lahat yan natulungan ng UNTV Cup, no. So kami patuloy ang aming pag-ensayo para sana makamit ulit natin ang kampyonato.
A total of more than 10 million pesos cash prize, tax-free, will be given this season of the league for the 12 teams chosen beneficiary. 4 million pesos awaits the Season 8 champion. Bernadottis, UNTV News and Rescue.
A nurse in Chinese hospital treating patients infected with the novel coronavirus could not embrace or hold her daughter when they met at the treatment facility. All they could do was air hug. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
A lot of health workers and a huge amount of money are needed to address the cases of 2019 nCoV ARD in affected countries. The World Health Organization has launched a new coronavirus preparedness and response global plan that needs $675 million. Doctors and nurses from all over China are working together to treat patients afflicted by the disease. That is why it is inevitable for them to be away from their loved ones as they are in the front line to fight the outbreak in China. Since they come in contact with patients, they cannot mingle with other people, not even their loved ones. Just like this nurse from Fugao County People's Hospital in Henan, China. When her daughter visited her at the hospital, all they could do to show their love for each other was air hug. For her daughter to express her support to her heroine mother, whom she misses at these times, and just placed the food she prepared for her mom on the ground until it's time to bid farewell. Health workers and other government personnel working to treat patients and researchers and experts working on studying the new coronavirus need support and encouragement. And in times of troubles, our first necessity is prayers. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
reasons behind the news. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. I am Herlene Delgado.
And I am Angelo Castro III, because we need to know. We will always ask why. Good evening.
Di bang yung WHO, World Health Organization, sabi na ang coronavirus is acute respiratory disease. Eh nung nakita ko, akala ko parehas lang kasi nagalagay, acute respiratory distress syndrome. O di ka ako parehas lang ART, ano. Pero hindi pa lang iba pa lang ibig sabihin noon.
Of the 45 that we are supposed to bring back to the Philippines, they will again, as they are required by the Chinese Health Commission, they are required to undergo another check before they board the plane. And if they are found to be with a fever or any symptom of the nCoV, they will be taken by the Chinese authorities to their hospital, to their facility for treatment, and they will not be boarded.
It's much more strategically located. One. Number two, the facilities are more complete. The ambience is very nice. It's well lit. It's open space, and so the rooms are with almost complete amenities, with refrigerators, television, individualized toilets, which is very, very good, unlike in Fort Magsaysay, where the toilets o yung palikuran ay dapat they will have to share the toilets, no?
Finally, the proposed harmonized contract of employment was agreed upon by the Kuwaiti government. This is a measure that would provide effective and sufficient protection to our overseas workers.
Abrogating the VFA without any attempt to review it to strengthen the sovereignty provisions in favor of the Philippines, yes. That the United States may lose interest.